Mayor Shaver called to order the City Council Successor Agencies and Housing Authority Special and Joint Regular Meeting, Tuesday, June 13 at 5:30 p.m. Roll call. Council Agency Authority Member Taylor is here. Council Agency Authority Member Torres is here. Council Agency Authority Member Warren is here. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairperson Van is here. And Mayor Chairman Shaver is also here. City Council proceeded into closed session for discussion regarding conference legal counsel for existing litigation. That's item 4A. And item 4B, conference of real property negotiator. Please excuse us during the silent period. Council will return in open session at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
We're back out of our closed session, so I'm going to at this time call to order the City Council Successor Agency and Housing Authority Joint Regular Meeting. Please call the roll.
Mayor, Council Agency Authority Member Taylor. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Torres. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Warren. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairperson Van. Here. And Mayor Chairman Shaver.
Thank you. Before we have our pledge, we get a report from the City Attorney on closed session, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's nothing to report.
If you'll please all join us in our pledge tonight.
Ready, begin.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, tonight we're going to have our first special presentation. It is going to be by our Chief of Police. Chief Walters is going to be talking about fireworks for the upcoming 4th of July. Chief, you're up.
Okay, I'm Mr. Mayor, City Council, good evening. To all the residents as well, good evening. I'm going to cover just some stuff in regards to fireworks, the stuff we can and can't do legally, the stuff that we are going to be doing in the next couple of 3-4 weeks, and kind of move forward. And this PowerPoint is much more, it's just an educational piece of the laws out there, whether it's a misdemeanor or it's a felony, and the things that we can and can't do as the Orange County Sheriff's Department. With regards to this PowerPoint, I spoke with the Orange County Sheriff's Bomb Squad. That is a county bomb squad. It's not just for the contract cities, but it's for all of the different police departments throughout Orange County. So talking to them, this is what they brief all of the deputy sheriffs with, as well as the outside agencies on the things we can and can't do. So first things first, Fireworks in the state of California, they've got to require a stamp of approval by the state fire marshal. Those 3 seals up there, the fireworks have to have those or they're considered illegal. With regards to whether they're dangerous, whether they're safe and sane, whether they're party poppers or snap caps, again, these are legal. If it doesn't have that stamp, then it is illegal. No seal. It's Health and Safety Code 12.671, and it states it's unlawful for any person to sell, offer for sale, use, discharge, possess, store, or transport any types of fireworks within the state unless the state fire marshal has classified it, and is registered. If we see that, we can enforce that. That's a misdemeanor, and we can issue a citation. Okay, safe and sane. Here in Stanton, we do have those. The thing how we can kind of describe these to the public is that any firework that we can light up on the ground and they don't have an aerial type of explosion, those are going to be your safe and sane. So for example, we've got the Piccolo Peaks, the fountain strobe sparklers. Those are legal here in this Stanton, and we sell those. Anything that goes up in the air, that becomes a misdemeanor and or felony. Okay, those are the, just some examples of what those look like. Okay, dangerous fireworks. This is a misdemeanor to possess in California without a permit. Sometimes these may be at different, whether it's concerts, whether it's a park, they've got to have a pyrotechnic permit to do them. Okay, so if the gross weight is less than 25 pounds, it's that section, which is the Health and Safety Code. That's a misdemeanor. If it's 25 to 100 pounds, that's still a misdemeanor per the Health and Safety Code. If it's over 100 pounds, that's when it becomes a felony. These are what you see below, the shells, the Roman candles, or the different bottle rockets. This is where we start getting into the dangers of fireworks and the explosive nature of what these things can do. Okay, so safe and sane. These are all the cities in Orange County that have safe and sane fireworks. That's up to the cities to decide if they want to keep those or they want to get rid of them. That's not a sheriff's department thing. Okay. So it's Anaheim, Buena Park, Costa Mesa, Fulton, Garden Grove, Huntington Beach, Santa Ana, Stanton, Willow Park, and Westminster. If you take a look at that to the residents, Stanton surrounds by a lot of those cities. So 9 times out of 10, it may not be in Stanton, but it's those surrounding cities that are lighting off certain fireworks, certain bottle rockets, certain explosions that we're hearing here in Stanton. Not saying that Stanton doesn't do it, but those cities surrounding it, that's where we're seeing a lot of those loud explosions. A lot of times it's coming from the different cities. And then going back to that, all these cities, the Orange County Sheriff Bomb Squad has to respond and take possession of the illegal fireworks and the explosives. They contract with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So we're going to get into that shortly. I wanted the residents to know that the Orange County Sheriff's Department, we are out in force on July 4th. We are here. I have a lot of staff going to be working on July 4th. But just know that it's not just Stanton that the bomb squad is having to come to. It's all of Orange County on that particular holiday. Okay, so that takes time. It's a lot of overtime. There's a lot of work into that. There's a lot of people going all different directions to all the different cities. Okay, so this is the Sheriff's Department, where you start seeing all these explosions. You start seeing the stuff that's going into the air. That's the illegal fireworks. So Health and Safety, the code 12680, to place, throw, ignite, or discharge dangerous fireworks at a person, crowd, where an injury can occur. This was in Santa Ana, and the sheriff's deputies were out there trying to protect the streets, and this is what was going on behind us. So for all the residents in Stanton, I hear you. We understand it. I'm on your side. We're on your side. We are here to help. We're here to protect you. Because again, we know what you guys are seeing and what you guys are hearing because we've seen the same thing. Okay, so again, just to reiterate to all the residents, I promise the Sheriff's Department is gonna be out and about on the 4th of July. Okay, illegal explosives. So back in the day, these are, the cherry bombs, the M80s, the M1000s. These are actually explosives. These aren't fireworks. People get that mixed up. Well, again, when we see these are all felonies. So if we see this, and again, I reiterate that to everyone, we have to see them lighting them off. We can't use a cell phone. We can't use a drone. We can't use a word of mouth, a video. The Sheriff's Department, it's a misdemeanor, not committing our presence. We have to see it. Felonies, we don't. We can go off of word of mouth. But misdemeanors, for us to enforce the law, we have to actually physically see it. Okay? So with regards to those, a lot of times right now throughout our world right now, we're getting the different fireworks, the explosives, and they're changing the different packing material. So what the picture on the right is, that's the same as a cherry bomb, same thing, but it's just it's in a different form. Okay. Okay, the destructive devices. This is the worst case scenario for the Sheriff's Department and for the bomb squad. We have to go out there, for the bottle bombs, for the dry ice, for the pyrotechnic, or they call the Molotov cocktails, where there's a bottle, a container, there's an explosive material inside of it. They put a fuse to it, and then they light it and they throw it. That causes a big explosion, and that's extremely dangerous because it doesn't just catch fire, it can catch fire, they can spread to different buildings, it can spread to different people, and worst case, that gets thrown at us, it's more dangerous. So these are the three that we've seen. These are the bomb squad. 9 times out of 10 goes out on multiple things, and this is the stuff that they're actually starting to do. With regards to these are felonies, these carry some additional time in state prison. Okay, for these. Most of the time, it's the same type of thought process. Well, they're just fireworks. That's an untrue statement. I feel very strongly about that. You can speak to the bomb squad and the fire authority will say the same thing. They're not just fireworks. Sometimes these fireworks, they look like fireworks, but they've been manipulated and they're actually explosives. So for example, the stuff on the right, it's that picture on the right, those look pretty small. There's not a lot of destruction to them. Very, very, very tiny. Well, I've got 2 videos, this is gonna come up here, you're gonna see it's a loud explosion. And it's very dangerous to not just those lighting it off, but to all the residents surrounding that. The ones on the left are those aerial type of shots. So they go way up in the air, explode. A lot of times right now we're seeing that picture on the left, we're getting people that are starting to disassemble those so they can go on the ground, which is highly dangerous. So this first one, I'll go back up and so we can see it, hear it. Okay, so that was that picture. So that's the picture on the left. So that's what those do. Back in the day, that's kind of like a bottle rocket. Most people know what that is. That's what they look like. A lot of times last year in particular, we actually confiscated those that they had taken off the stick. So it's just a little ball and it was exploding on the ground. We took those off of 4 people last year. Okay. Now, the ones on the right, this next video is going to show that. Those things are about maybe the size of a $50. This is what it looks like. That's in a box. I'll play that again for everyone, especially for the public. So if you see that, and you see those type of explosives, That is what we see when it comes to our SWAT team making entry in certain buildings. That's something the bomb squad sees quite often. We see that in different states. So if anyone in the public, anybody of your family members, your neighbors, anybody like that, you see some of these fireworks, some of these explosives, please call the Orange County Sheriff's Department. It's truly important because this is where danger happens. This is where people can lose their life on. Okay, so Stanton Police Services is going to have a large presence on the 4th of July. We are going to be having patrol, the SWAT team, the bomb squad, and some investigators are going to be in the city. Some of them you will see, some of them you will not see. And that's based on safety, security for everyone, okay? So that's going to be game planned out. That will be given to the city manager and we'll be able to see all that. Number two, we will be ready in the city of Stanton because of my prior assignment. I was the SWAT captain. We will be able to respond to any incident in the city of Stanton on that particular day, whether it's armor related, whether it's bomb squad related, whether it's investigations related, patrol related. Again, it can be anything, but we will be ready for that. 3, citations or arrests will be done. They will be issued per the Health and Safety Code. We did a very, very good job last year with the citations, with the arrest and with the confiscation of several explosive type of devices, not safe and safe firearms. Okay. Here's a big one for the public, for the city council, and to all the sheriff's department and all the city employees. We have to observe the violation, the law enforcement, the sheriff's department, observe the violation for a citation or for an arrest to be made. We cannot take someone's word for it. We can't take a video or pictures to issue a citation. The misdemeanor must be committed in our presence for us to enforce that part of the citation. A lot of times there's been, throughout Orange County, we can see, there's different residents or business owners say, look, there's a video. That's great. We can go to that house, we can investigate that, but we can't issue a citation right now based on our laws. We don't have that. If the laws change, then we will enforce based on those updated laws. Okay? Here's the part that's a shock to most everybody. Once the deputy collects a firework for evidence, we have to call the bomb squad to come out to stand. Now, what they were doing differently, I'm going to have some bomb squad members that are going to be in service in North operations to cover Yorba Linda, Stanton, Villa Park, Rossmore, so that north area, so it's a little bit less drive time. With that being said, they have to come to Stanton, and our deputy has to release the fireworks to them. That's called chain of custody, and that's part of the evidentiary kind of reasons for that. This takes a lot of time. It's drive time on a holiday, traffic, different thing, and on top of that, they may be coming from South County. They could be coming from Yorba Linda. They could be coming from Rossmore, from Villa Park. So it's drive time. This also, unfortunately, takes the deputy sheriff, who's ever got the certain fireworks, that takes them out of service. They have to go to the substation and they have to sit there with the fireworks until the bomb squad comes. Okay. Number 3 part of that is that when they do collect the firework, that's when the deputy sheriff they go back into service. Again, I reiterate that the bomb squad is for the entire county, not just for the contract cities of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Number 6, the Stanton station does not have an explosive evidence locker. Other agencies may, we do not. The evidence locker for explosive, all the different fireworks is in the city of Orange. Prior to my prior assignment, we bought 4 explosive containers for safety reasons. And so we collect all that, it gets put there. Once as soon as that holiday is over, we work with CAL FIRE. They come out, they have a huge truck, it's like a semi-truck with all the fireworks throughout Orange County, and then it's all taken out to the desert, and they do stuff out there with that. I got to see part of that, so I know exactly what that process is. there's a lot of explosions, away from Orange County. The bomb squad, they are 24/7 operation, and again, they will be in the field on that particular day. They can respond to anything. So when in doubt, and this is for the residents, we will enforce the law. I promise. That's my directive towards my staff. And number two, we will collect fireworks and explosive evidence. So it's not just ISO citation and just leave it all there. We will, if we have to issue citations, we take everything. Okay? We will come back to the station, we will write reports, it's all the technical reports, we're gonna write all those, and then we file those. So in regards to that process, we're hoping it doesn't take that long. We're gonna do our very best to try to have, again, I'm gonna have them in Stanton, so that'll cut down on some of that drive time. But I can promise the city council, I can promise the residents, we are gonna have a lot of personnel on this particular day. I know last year and the year before that, it's been pretty interesting with regards to fireworks. So again, hopefully this presentation kind of educated on some of the things we can and can't do. Like I said, if there's any questions, I'm open for questions. With regards to the citations, we did pretty well last year. I believe we cited 9, which is, it seems like, well, that's only 9. Those are the illegal fireworks. Those are the ones that cause a lot of destruction. We took those off the street. We also arrested, and that's not, when we arrest for fireworks, we're also looking at other things as well. Not just fireworks, but we're looking at, like last year, we were able to take guns off the street, whether it's probation, parole, warrants. We're able to see all of that as well. So my last thing is this to everyone is please call us. We are here, we will be, again, we're on a lot of personnel, and we are here for the public. Questions?
Okay, first of all, go ahead and take it to the council. Please, Bill.
Mr. Walters, is there anything that we can do in the city to further help on the 4th of July?
So the biggest thing I think that I've seen from last year, that I was so, we as a staff felt very supported by the city council. That's one thing last year was really, really good. There was a lot of questions, there was a lot of concerns, and the key thing for everybody, in case you guys get at, is call us. It's not just, hey, let me send you a picture. You gotta call us to have us respond. Even if we respond and we can't, let's say we get there and the fireworks are over, but we see certain things we still can document and take information reports and start building that case instead of can't do anything. So I think the messaging would be simple is to, number one, we are out in force. Number two is if you get those questions, what can they do? We have misdemeanors that we can enforce, we have felonies that we can enforce, but I think the biggest thing that I'm really trying to get that message out to the public is that we have to see it. That's one thing that maybe the council have to be with is that messaging. We have a different thing that I'm going to be doing with the deputy sheriffs, getting them to explain when they go to the calls instead of just saying it's that, explain why. So that's kind of the biggest thing I think is that messaging is crucial when it comes to we start getting phone calls or text messages, or we start getting emails or videos or photos. Take it, call us, have us see those things, but then again, know that we have to see and do it. Hope that answered that.
Gary? Carol?
One question I have, I know 2 people, houses, whatever, that fire off illegal fireworks year round. They fire them off on Easter. And it's hard because John and I walked down there and said, stop it, we will call the police on you. We have seen you do it, we will tell the police that, but they're like rats. I mean, they scurry right back under their rock and there's nothing there for you guys to get. Is there anything else we can do?
So here's what I would say to that, and that's a fantastic question. One of the things that I would love to be able to, if we know ahead of time, certain addresses, maybe not addresses, but certain areas, we don't want to get too, we're profiling this, we're profiling that, we want to be careful on that, but areas, so for example, Let's say that we talk about Beach and Star and Fern. I'm just going off the streets that I actually drove down today, that's why I say them. That I can place certain units there, either plain clothes, which is the undercover SWAT team, or I can place units there ahead of time, that we can start, if we see it, then we go right then and there, we can start making arrests, or making start issue citations. If we don't know about it until the very end, then that kind of puts us at a disadvantage, and I'd rather have us be at an advantage on that. So again, if there's certain, it can just be an email, it can go through the city manager. These are areas of our concern to the board. And then I can take that and I can give that when I do our briefings, say, okay, look, I need you for over here, and we kind of have a better logistical kind of process than we had last couple of years. So that would be helpful.
Thank you for that report, Chief. And I'm gonna make a couple of comments if I may. I had the opportunity, I think it was last month, to be on a statewide fireworks symposium, which most of the county people were there. And then also we had both the CAL FIRE, police chiefs, and fire chiefs from all over. And I got some things out of it that I think that I would like for us to consider. My first question is from our city attorney: if we were to make an emergency ordinance, if we were able to justify it, and we did it on the 27th, which is our next meeting, would we be able to get that into effect?
Mayor and council, there is a provision in the government code that allows the city council to adopt an emergency ordinance with the urgency findings. If those findings can be made, I believe that that ordinance would have to also be passed by a supermajority of the council, then it would be effective immediately. So there's a mechanism in the government code for urgency ordinances.
Some of the things that I got out of the talk, I found very interesting, and I'm going to share them. I had a chance to talk to the chief about it because I bumped into him at the crime lab meeting. Number one, we can't increase our fines. Okay, first fine would be $5,000. Second fine is $10,000, and the third fine is $25,000. Now, a lot of cities do that, and those that have those increased fines, once the word gets out, it has been very, it's a proactive, but it's also been very effective. So that's a consideration also. We have to look at, there's a time period, within a certain period of time that those fines go up. It's not like, that day, but there are some stipulations to that. Number two, we can adopt what is known as a social host ordinance. Now, a social host ordinance is that we simply hold the people that own the property accountable, and we fine them. In other words, that $15,000 or $10,000 fine is to the people who are renting, to the people who are setting off fireworks. Now, people that have done that found that very effective, especially in apartment areas where there's a lot of firework activity. In our city, we do have that problem. Because what the landlord does is he shares that notice of social host ordinance with the residents to let them know that if they set off fireworks illegal on his property, he's going to have to pay the fine, and they may not be there anymore. So in other words, he has the ability to control what happens on the 4th of July on rental property. Our property is being leased. So that's something that's been very effective. Some of the other things were, some of the counties now actually do have commercial drones. Now, commercial drones are very good because they go right down and get pictures of who's there. They get pictures of the license plates of the cars that are participating. And then they also, at the same time, they have a visual of the fireworks that are going on. But the nice thing is code enforcement or police also show up in that video. So the courts now see that during the time of the event, that there was a law enforcement officer there issuing a ticket. And we're going to be looking at this process because those courts have held up, those tickets that have been appealed in several counties. So that's another option for the future. Some of the other things that they've done is they have sent letters identifying sites that are leased or rented that are owned to the property owners and the tenants, letting them know about the new social host ordinance, so that they're aware of the fact that if they're caught doing it, not only are they responsible, but also the person that owns the property is responsible. So it's kind of a double attack or warning, which I think is very good. Some of the other things they do is they put up flashing signs at hotspots in the city to remind everybody that there's no fireworks. So that if there's a sign there in the background that's being picked up not only by our people that are on the ground, but also by the drone company. Some of the other things that have done is that CAL FIRE has allowed fire stations in cities to have evidence lockers on site to where they can put the materials there, and then it quickly gets the enforcement people back out into the field. Some of the things that were also discussed was the fact that most of the cities, they have difficulty because they have to actually see the person light the firework before we can issue the citation. However, the drone thing has been successful and it's something that I would like to look at. I won't be able to do it this year, but in the future. But I do believe that we can do the social host ordinance and we can increase our fines if this is desirous of the council before the 4th of July. The other things that were discussed was, what if you ban fireworks? Well, it was the unanimous consent of everybody in the state that banning fireworks doesn't solve illegal fireworks. Because what it usually ends up doing is that it just creates more illegal fireworks, but it also creates the same responsibility of you having to catch them. So catching them is symptomatic throughout the state. I'll give you another example. I did have an opportunity to visit Cyprus next door after the 4th of July and talk to what was going on there. They have a ban on fireworks. They had more rocket debris on their city streets in the neighborhood than we did in ours. So it's endemic. Something happens. And as the chief said, we are surrounded by several cities that allow them. And we're only, we're like three square miles. And so therefore, whatever happens surrounding us. I know that Mr. Warren and I had taken videos with his drone for the many, many years. And it's kind of interesting because you see all these fireworks going on illegal all on our border, but you really only see 6 hotspots in Stanton, of which we all have those addresses. So I think we can be very proactive this year. But I do believe that the social host ordinance could be a solution to resolving some of the concerns of what we can do as an elected body to protect our community. Any questions? Therefore, at the appropriate time, I'm going to ask this to be put on the agenda for our upcoming council meeting.
For the commercial drones, is that, I was told that you have to see them light it. You can't have a picture, you can't have a video, the deputy has to see them light it. So how would the drone change that? It doesn't change anything, right? You still have to see them light it.
Correct, unless the law changed where it said we could go off of a drone or we could go off of a video, but right now, the way it sits now, we can't go off of drones. It has to be on the visual of the deputy sheriff. Now, if that changes, we're on board, of course, in any way to make it safer. And again, I think the biggest thing is not the sparklers and those little flowers and stuff, those things, but it's those explosive type of illegal fireworks that cause a lot of damage. We have, but as of today, and as of this coming July 4th, we have to see it.
I would say, though, Alice, that some of the counties that are issuing citations through drones with that process have been successful in the courts. Now, I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm not disputing what the chief says, but I think it's something we should at least take a look at in the future as maybe a solution. I do know that by notifying property owners that they'll be held responsible, there's been much of an impact in the cities that have done that. Because if I was a property owner and I knew that I might end up having a $10,000 fine because of repeated firework activity on the 4th of July, I would let the people that live there know that, I would share that with them. And it may or may not be a thing. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, my only issue with the property enforcement is that it's very arbitrary. What if they're just like, blowing up fireworks in front of like their house on the street? Would we still enforce that without ordinance?
But the reason that we do this is because a lot of people, to avoid that, do it in backyards or in gated areas. So if it's within those areas, this also helps our enforcement people because of areas that they're not able to access. That's why the drone thing is also very valuable, because if they're not doing it on property, if they're doing it in the street, the task force that we've been very proactive this year will be able to address that. I think it just gives us more tools. I'm not saying it's going to solve our problem, but after that talk, I asked for all that material to be sent to Anna, and once we get that, we can review it and we see if it has any substance.
Yeah, that sounds good. One of the things that I've experienced, I don't know about everybody else, is that usually people like throw a little party in front of their houses and like set off these illegal fireworks. And I just guess like that thing would be too arbitrary for me because like if they're doing it on the sidewalk, would we still be electing that somebody?
If somebody's doing illegal fireworks anywhere in the city, then they're subject to a fine.
I'm talking specifically about the property owners. So like, what happens if somebody like a neighbor just blows up a fireworks like in front of your property, but like on the sidewalk?
I think it's within a property zone jurisdiction, we have an opportunity to do that.
The sidewalk.
I have to say, being from a neighborhood that has tons of illegal fireworks every year, most of the time they do it on the asphalt, like on the main street, and it would basically block traffic, and that's how it's done in our neighborhood at least. I wanted to ask about the social host ordinance, because again, the deputies have to see somebody light the fireworks to write that citation, and let's say they do catch somebody lighting it, and they issue the citation to the individual that they caught, and then what do they do next? Google who the landlord is, and then give it to the landlord, like how would that work?
So based on that, let's say it's kids or if it's an adult, we would ask those questions. Let's say that it was in front of a house and it was in the street. So we go there, whose house is this? And we start asking questions. That's how we can potentially tie that back. There's all the ways to, look, we've seen pictures, and we've seen this, we actually saw you now do it, build to that case. It's not just walk up, see something on the ground, and guess what, it's this owner and it's $25,000 fine. There's much more investigative tools that would go into that to make sure that's who we are finding, that's who we are giving those citations to. A lot of times, lately, it's the juveniles that are lighting stuff off, mom and dad really are inside or no idea, and then we call them out. Unhappy parents, which we all can parent to. So in that regards, that's where that initial citation, but then we issue that to, if there is an ordinance or something like that, that can always be in our arsenal as well. The hardest part about the illegal fireworks, everybody knows they are illegal. So they do a pretty good job, not in Eastham, but across, I think, the US with regards to hiding that on who's actually lighting them off. That's the hard part.
And I can answer that. According to the discussion that we had, the citation is issued to the violators for setting off the fireworks, and they simply mail the social ordinance violation to the homeowner in the mail. And that's cut and dry. It's a simple process. So the mail to the owner, and then the people on the property are bringing. That's where it was.
So they fire off their fireworks, they have their party, they put the fireworks in their trash can. I go out, I check their trash can the next day, and it's it's loaded with illegal fireworks shells. And I call you guys in, you didn't see them fire them off, but you have proof of the fireworks being there.
So based on that scenario, I would hope that, we would be called out because are they still active? Are they still, haven't been let off yet? Are they still, there? We would come collect that. We haven't seen them cook them off. We haven't seen them set them off. But we would take those, we would confiscate those.
But they would not be cited at all.
Because based on that scenario, they're just there. So, but we would take those, we would take them to the bomb squad, eventually, they would go to Cal Fire and they would call it to the desert. But now, let's say that we get there and all of a sudden we see one of them, light one of them, okay, then all of that gets charged to that person. But it's all about that, and I know it's tough, especially for everyone, it's that.
Okay, any other questions? Chief, thank you, that was very thorough, we really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna deviate, at this point, if it's okay with everybody. I'd like to move, oral communications with the public up at this time. Is everybody okay with that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Thank you. Okay, that being said, we do have some folks that are interested in, public comment. So the first person will be Kathy Hamilton.
Yes.
Pull it down a little bit lower, Ms. Hamilton. Down.
Okay, my name is Kathy Hamilton, and I live over in Wallenberg Mobile Home Park. I've been there 25 years. In 25 years, it's the same thing every 4th of July. And don't tell me to call, because I've tried. You just go, the phone rings and rings and rings, nobody answers, so. But we're gonna catch fire sooner or later. It's getting worse every year, every year. But we call, we try to get some help over there, nothing. Has this town ever thought about making signs, putting up signs that fireworks, they will be arrested? Has anybody thought of that wonderful idea? Putting up a sign on the streets? Maybe that would scare them a little. Right now, we're sitting here talking about it, but nothing ever gets done. Nothing. So maybe try that, put that up. Because there's gonna be a big fire when one of those mobile homes go, they go like Cracker Jack boxes, the whole place will get wiped out. But I guess the only people that really care is us, because nothing's ever been done, so. But I think if you put up a sign that illegal fireworks will, be arrested or whatever, or a fine or something, fines they don't care about. But if they could be arrested, maybe that would help. But every year, we have the same thing and nothing's ever done. So isn't it about time somebody does something?
Okay, Ms. Hamilton, in response to your question, the signs have been ordered, and actually they're being put up by, with the help of our fire volunteers. They'll be put in the city, in areas where there's a high concentration, and also on all of our parks and private owned properties. The other thing is the plan that we have is probably the most proactive one that we've ever had in the history of the city, that the chief is going to be on the ground. I think also, if I recall, I thought we were going, I know Jim's not here tonight, but I thought we had a number that was not to the sheriff's department that would make you call us this year.
So yes, we did include that information on our website, and that has been a number that's been available.
Gonna do anything.
Okay, so we do have a number that it's not just to the sheriff's department, but it's also going to be to the city. Okay? So I think that's an improvement that we've also done.
The fireworks, they start about a week ahead of time. And we call, or we try to call, let's put it that way. And nothing's done about that, so. you know, too bad somebody here doesn't live over in a mobile home and see that, the fireworks up in the sky just coming towards your house. I think there'd be something done then, that'd be fun. Thank you. Makes me mad.
This is the first year.
I know that the signs we're putting up this year are gonna be
There's been no
very
signs.
poignant. They're already passing fast. We're also putting them on the electronic billboard, on each billboard, so I think that's.
Put them out here in the main streets. You know,
They
see.
They put one in front of our.
Chief, that was a good question, maybe you can help me with that. We do get a lot of activity before and after the parade, how are we gonna be addressing that?
So the first thing we did with this was, as you know, with this PowerPoint, we did it on June 13th. The goal is to get on social media from the sheriff's department to educate the public with that from how to touch it before, so we get that message out there. We're also tasked our special enforcement team as well as the liaison officers to, as they're talking to the public, to kind of tell them as well, and you know, it goes with our patrol, on top of that. But that messaging is what we're doing now, trying to get ahead of this way ahead of time, and I want to thank the mayor for that. Stanton, we have a lot of resources last year and this year compared to a lot of cities, whether people think it or not, we have a ton. Some of our details that are here, and this goes to the public, you're not gonna know they're there. That's done for a reason. And the ones that you're not gonna know there are a plainclothes SWAT team that can handle anything that this city has to offer. So again, our messaging, we want to do it early. We're going to hit social media. We're going to talk to the public. We're going to talk to business owners. We're doing that right now currently. And the younger staff that I have are very eager to get out there. I know some of our councilors are riding with some of our deputy sheriffs. So that messaging is there. We are talking to everybody we can and getting this message out tonight, getting it out next week, getting it out the week after that, and not even stopping there, even through the month of July, because as we all know, it doesn't stop just on July 4th. It seems like the month. So we're doing everything we can at this point. And again, I say this last thing again. So there are times when it's outside of Stanton and we're seeing some of this fireworks, illegal fireworks coming into Stanton. So we're seeing that as well. And we're seeing it firsthand. It's not just by word of mouth. We're actually witnessing it. So that's something we're trying to get that, the educational piece out there, it's entirely almost a month ahead of time.
Thank you. One of the other things I was going to mention was I did have a chance to talk with one of the firework companies, and they have agreed to put our regulations and the fines and the warnings on door hangers that they'll be putting out. So I think that would be very helpful getting the word out. It's probably better than a sign because you actually have a door hanger that tells you which legal and what's not legal, which will be very helpful. We've never done that. I know that for years we put up signs. I think this will also be very helpful. Okay, we also have another speaker. This would be Irene Stevenson, please.
Hi. I live in the park down the street too. And they don't only go off 4th of July, they went off on Memorial Day too. And the complex behind me, they're the ones that are setting off. Now, I don't know whether they're illegal or legal. They all make a noise and it scares my animals. And that's my main concern. And I'm concerned about my house too. But I know it's a problem. You feel like running to the house if you can find it and grabbing those people by the neck. I went to a Second World War. I went to a tornado, a hurricane, and an earthquake. And fireworks they ought to ban them. They're no good. I know it brings in money, but they're no good.
Well,
I
and
don't
we,
know what
I
to
did-
do.
I did want to let you know that we have, they're only, no matter what kind of fireworks, even legal ones, you can only have them between July 1st and July 4th.
Well, you can.
So I know, I understand that, but just, you're concerned about all types, but those 4 days, you can only have legal fireworks. The rest of the year, no fireworks.
Well,
Yes.
they're letting them off. It don't matter what year it is, or what month it is, they're still going off. In fact, there was one, not too long ago, it boomed. I don't know whether it was a firework or something blew up. You know, so it's scary. And as you get older, it becomes more scary. So, but I don't know what you can do. I really don't. But we're concerned. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time?
You have anything, Diane?
No.
It doesn't do any good.
Yes, probably know me already. So I can guess, CR, the student,
Did you put the mic on?
CR, the student, I can't noise. I talked to John the other day, he says, can I do it? It's gonna quiet the noise, it's still continue doing all kind of noise. So I wanna know what's going on with you guys. So I make a lot of complaints. It's not, it's almost like 5 years already. I don't see you guys don't do anything. So what's gonna happen? So you guys gonna fix the noise or what?
If there's a complaint, we're more than
I
happy.
complain every time, like 5, 6 times already. I got a stack of complaints that I do.
Okay, and this is a recent concern of yours?
And the smell too. And a lot of noise every single day. They don't stop. They say that they want to keep it for a couple months to stop, and after that, they continue doing it.
Well, I would be more than happy to have our staff look into it. Again, we have, our city, planning department. We also have our city manager, and we also have our consultant that oversees that. And, letting us know, we appreciate you coming and let us know. And if you have a concern that you address tonight, we will investigate.
Said the same thing last time. You don't do anything.
Okay, well, we'll investigate.
I got like videos. I show you want to show the videos. I got videos. I got all kinds of stuff and everything. So oh yeah.
Okay, well, it has to be a violation of their ordinance.
All the time I gotta call the cops.
There has to be a violation of their conditional use permit and their ordinance. And we will be more than happy to look into that for you.
Okay.
I understand you're frustrated. Unfortunately, it's not agendized items, so, we can't speak and respond to your questions. But I have your questions here. I know that you've been here for the past couple meetings and you're reporting. We have, some new staff members here, but we're gonna take down your message. I have your contact information, and if you don't want to get it to me once again, just to confirm, we'll have one of our staff members reach out to you.
Because last time I come to talk to Anna and say, okay, so you know what's going on. So John say, oh, I'll talk to Anna, they say this can agree with something, but they don't do anything about it. So I got tried to come over here.
Thank you for letting us know, and we will take a look at your concerns. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time? All right, we want to thank all the people that brought to our attention their concerns about fireworks. I will assure you that this is going to be a much better year. We had a very good year last year, an improvement, and I know that we'll be improving, protecting the city this year. So thank you. We'll go ahead and close public hearing, bring it back to where we are on the consent calendar. These are items A through N. Is there any request for the item? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
been motioned by Councilmember Taylor, and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. I'll now proceed with roll call vote. Council Agency Authority Member Torres. Council Agency Authority Member Taylor.
Yes.
Council Agency Authority Member Warren.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairperson Graham. And Mayor Chairman Shaw.
Yes.
All items on the consent calendar will pass.
All right, now on item number 10A, public hearings. This is assessment of the annual levy of assessments for installation, maintenance, and servicing of the public lighting facilities, media items, and others. For the territory of Lake Stamp Lighting and Landscaping District 1, for the fiscal year 23-24, pursuant to the Lighting Act of 1973.
Brought before you by Ms. Michelle Bennigan, your finance director.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and all those attending this evening. This is the first of 2 routine public hearings the city holds each year. This particular item is related to placing the assessments for the Stanton Lighting and Landscaping District Number 1 on the property tax roll for fiscal year 2023-24. Before tonight's public hearing, the City Council approved a series of resolutions to inform and engage the public regarding this matter. On January 24th, the City Council approved resolution number 2023-02, initiating the process and ordered the preparation of an engineer's report to be prepared for the district. The city contracted with Harrison Associates to prepare this report, which was reviewed by both the finance director and the public works director. On May 9th, the staff provided a draft of the engineer's report to the City Council, and the City Council approved resolution number 2023-07, approving the engineer's report, and resolution number 2023-08, declaring the city's intent to levy and collect assessments for the district. On May 11th, the city clerk posted a public notification to inform the public about tonight's public hearing. The assessment provided for in the staff report is essentially the same as the assessment that was charged for fiscal year 2022-23. Staff is requesting the City Council open the public hearing and upon completion of the public hearing, adopt resolution 2023-13 to approve the lighting and landscape district assessments be added to the county's fiscal year 2023-24 property tax roll. This completes my staff report. The city staff and Diana Shane with Harrison Associates are available to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, our recommended action is 1, 2, and 3. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, we feel comfortable to open the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll open the public hearing on item 10A. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to discuss 10A? Have we received any correspondence?
Mr. Mayor, we have not received correspondence.
Close that, bring it back to council. We have a motion by.
I'll make a motion on 1, 2, and 3.
We have a motion by Councilmember Warren, a second by Councilmember Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes.
Okay, 10B, this is a public hearing also relative to placing the annual sewer service fee of the property tax roll for fiscal year 23-24.
Good evening. This is the second of our public hearings. The city clerk also published notification for this public hearing on May 11th as well. The city currently operates and maintains a sewer collection system for over 40,000 connections. The system encompasses over 55 miles of sewer mains, approximately 550 manholes, and 5,000 sewer laterals. The city charges fees to operate the system by placing an annual sewer service charge on the property tax roll. This fee is subject to the Proposition 218 process. On August 8, 2017, the city held a notice public hearing in compliance with Proposition 218 and adopted the annual sewer service charges for fiscal years 2017-18 through 2021-22. Staff is recommending the City Council assess the same charge that was charged for fiscal years 21-22 and 22-23 with no increase for fiscal year 23-24. Staff plans to contract with a vendor to have a new multi-year sewer service charge study completed after the city sewer master plan update project is complete. So again, staff is requesting the city council open the public hearing to receive public input and upon completion of public hearing, adopt resolution 2023-14 to approve the assessments that are in your staff report be added to the property tax roll for fiscal year 23-24, the annual sewer service charge. This completes my staff report. The preliminary tax roll was prepared by our consultant, Harrison Associates, and she and myself, Diana Sheehan and myself, are available for questions.
Any questions? Okay, I'll open the public hearing on item 10B. Is there anyone wishing to comment on 10B? Any correspondence?
Mayor, we have none.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to you. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it. Also, there you go.
We have a motion by Councilmember Taylor, a second by Councilmember Ford. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, item 10B passes.
Okay, good. We'll close up public hearing on 10B. We'll go on to unfinished business. We have none. New business. 12A, adoption of the fiscal year 2023 to 24 operating our capital budget for City Stanton Housing Authority. Approve employee benefits and salary rates for fiscal year 23-24. Adopt fiscal year 23-24 appropriations limit. Adopt reserve policy. Approve city investment policy for fiscal year 23-24. Waive competition bidding requirements for certain commodity purchases. Approve a 5-year agreement with the County of Orange for law enforcement services.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Turn it off, sorry. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. This is me again. So as a follow-up to our May 16th budget workshop, staff is coming back with the changes that the council provided in their decision packages, and we are bringing you the proposed budget for fiscal year 22-23 to formally adopt. And along with that, there are a number of matters that the council approves along with our budget process. And we're going to take care of all of those with tonight's presentation and staff report. So I want to first show you, this is a comparison of all city funds and where we were when we were here on May 16th and where we are today after the decision packages. So you will see that our current proposed revenues are $39.5 million and our proposed expenditures are $45.4 million. The slight reduction in revenue is due to the reallocation of the ARPA budget in fiscal year 22-23 that was approved earlier tonight. A result of that reduces general fund revenue slightly due to less administrative overhead charges to the general fund by not having that staff time being funded in ARPA next year. And we also received updated information from the state regarding gas tax and SB1 revenue projections for next year. And so that lowered revenues slightly next year. I will say that the reduction of gas tax and SB1 revenues did not impact any funding for capital projects that we discussed earlier. Now, expenditures increased about $5.2 million since the budget workshop to incorporate the decision packages approved by City Council during the workshop on May 16th, and we'll go over that in the next few slides. And in addition, since then, staff increased the budget for the sewer maintenance fund by approximately $100,000 to provide sufficient funding for the contracted sewer cleaning services, which was a contract that was approved earlier tonight on the consent calendar. We completed the RFP process, and based on the updated pricing that the market is telling us, a budget adjustment for 23-24 was needed, so we updated that. So this is all city funds. We are going to go through the decision packages, and we're going to start with the general fund. So this is a comparison of the general fund, where we were in May and where we were where we are now. So in May, we had revenues over expenditures of $841,115. We gave you a series of items to consider for the general fund decision package. And based on the impact of those, the revenues over expenditures before we discuss our general fund assigned fund balance is $348,480. So this table highlights the decision packages that are included in the budget. If you recall, the decision packages staff provided on May 16th were approximately a little bit more than $500,000. Some of them were approved, some of them were not. So the decision packages that are in the budget include the 5% cost of living increase. City Council directed staff to increase that from 4% to 4%. That was proposed on May 16th to 5%, and salary market adjustments for 3 positions, increasing our IT contracted services, which we are currently evaluating proposals for. So we will have funding for that contract next year. Increased funding for the Community Services Department to fund things like 5 new special events, a Love Our City Service Day, and painting of some art boxes. Funding set aside for Vietnamese translation services. Increased funding for the City Council's travel, conferences, and meetings budget. Supplies to restripe the City Hall parking lot. And then the last item was an additional item that we added by staff since the budget workshop. The total added to the proposed budget is $5,000, $2,500 in the general fund, $2,500 in the sewer maintenance fund. This is a state requirement to mark our underground utilities, and this is something that was neglected to be put in budget, so we just modified that. I want to comment that funding for Catherine Street sidewalk improvements that was listed on May 16th in the budget decision package for the general fund is in the proposed budget tonight, but it's being funded in their gas tax fund. So that's why you don't see it here, but it is included in the proposed budget this evening. Now, in addition to the budget decision packages that are for the regular operating budget, we do have some decision packages that were approved on May 16th to be funded from the ARPA fund. But earlier this evening, a budget adjustment was approved for fiscal year 22-23, where we basically done a budget swap between ARPA and the general fund. So there is no ARPA fund next year. And so all of those items that were subject to the ARPA fund, we are recommending be funded by what we are calling the general fund assigned fund balance. One of the action items on the consent calendar was to place 4.8 million of savings into a general fund assigned fund balance that we would use to fund those initiatives that were previously being funded by ARPA. And so this 1.5 million are the budget decision packages that were presented to you labeled ARPA on May 16th. This chart is going to show the components of what we're calling our spendable fund balance, which includes the $14.3 million of the reserves that the City Council has set forth in its reserve policy. As you can see, there is no changes to those between May 16th and tonight. We do have 1.5 million committed by developer agreements. Those are fees we've been collecting for neighborhood preservation, common benefit fees, and beautification projects. And at some point in the future, council may come back and get a discussion or a study session on how we want to prioritize that funding. And then you see this new line item assigned fund balance, excuse me. I spoke about 4.8 million being placed in assignment June 30th, 2023. This $2.3 million is the expected balance a year from now, because we have the 1.5 million from the decision package, plus there was already over $1 million in the initial proposed budget from ARPA. So this 2.3 million is what we expect to have in that assigned fund balance category 1 year from now, if all is approved this evening. And then our assigned fund balance. So in total, we are expecting 29.3 million next June. Are there any questions about the general fund before I move on to decision packages in the other funds of the city? Okay. So as a result of our budget workshop, our capital improvement program increased from 3.2 million to 6.9, nearly $7 million. you'll see the, two lines at the bottom, the two categories at the bottom where the significant changes were made. The city council approved 3.2 million of parks projects. 3,080,000 of that is using our available fund balance and cash on hand in our park and loop fees fund to provide funding to complete our parks projects that are already in process, such as Warren Ross Sports Park, Premier Park renovation, Stanton Park adult fitness equipment, as well as we added a new project, $76,000 for the Stanton Central Park lighting project, which is going to be funded by the Federal Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program. And then we also have $660,000 for 2 storm drain projects, which include the storm drain master plan and repairs for Stanford Avenue storm drain, which will be funded by the general fund assigned fund balance. Lastly, the other remaining items in the decision packages that included other funding sources that are included in your budget are home repair improvement grants that will complement the amount that we hope to get from Habitat for Humanity. So we're going to do an additional $50,000 with our accumulated CDBG resources. We reduced the block camera funding by $89,300 to reduce that service level to just the 14 cameras. And then we did add funding in the gas tax fund for a citywide speed study. And that completes the changes to the budget figures. I'm going to move on to the other actions that we are asking you, the other attachments that are in the staff report, unless there's any questions regarding the proposed budget for 23-24.
After the settlement for the 3 unions with the OCFA, how much of the original amount that we were, I know there was a percent, but how much dollar value was that?
I can provide that. I can multitask. It is the full 4.5%, so I can provide you that dollar amount shortly.
Were we at 4?
And we still have the unknown of the Orange County Sheriff's Department contract. We still, the number that's in the current estimate with the county for law enforcement is a 1% decrease from our current contract, which that's their initial estimate, that their labor negotiations are not complete.
With OCFA, were we at 4.5 before the settlement, or we were less than that?
We were less, we were approximately 2% in our original, in the original estimate they provided in February was about a 2% increase. And so the contract they have with all of their contract cities is they will not increase their contract by more than 4.5%, even if the contract costs are more than that. So as a result of the negotiations, our contract with OCFA will increase to the maximum next year.
Okay, so it was at 2 and now it's 4.5?
Correct.
So we have 2, so that costs, yeah, they said it's about a 2 something increase, right?
Yes, they did increase it.
2.5 actually, I remember now.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Question, are we mandated to have a 5-year contract with OCSD?
That is one of the recommendations for tonight. I know that June 30, 2023 we do end our current 5-year agreement. So tonight we do have a new 5-year agreement. Hannah, do you want to respond to that?
I think Michelle's correct in that the term is coming up and the standard renewal agreement is for 5 years. There is a clause that's built into all of the agreements if the city were to choose not to procure public safety services through the OCSD. So it's not committing us through 5 years to all of our other contracts. The term is for 5 years, but there still is a termination clause that we can come out early if we wanted to.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it
Oh,
terminating.
okay.
But I was just wondering if there were benefits to the contract for us negotiating for 5 years, or if we could do it for 2 years and then renegotiate in 2 years?
So the city actually has no negotiating power. The negotiations are all conducted by the Board of Supervisors. And technically Sheriff Barnes doesn't have any negotiating power either. Again, the county board of supervisors conducts all the negotiations and relays that information to Sheriff Barnes, who then relays it to his administrative team, who then translates that into contract costs, which are then sent to the city. So we actually have no negotiating power when it comes to salaries and benefits, where the council has a decision, which we actually do look at every year, regardless of the 5-year term, is the staffing level of our police department. And that's something Captain Walters and I work together on to recommend to the council. And so every year of that 5-year contract, we'll have the opportunity to consider those costs as part of the budget workshop.
And how much money, oh, sorry, Julie.
No,
How much money are we, how much are we set aside for that increase?
So right now, because it was unknown, we have about 7% set aside, but we predict it's going to be we'll wait and see. We don't want to make any projections. We don't want to tip our hand either. We want to let the negotiations happen and we'll see where they end up.
So right now we're at 14 million or 17, I can't remember.
We're at just about 13 million,
Sort of
a
middle.
little over 13 million, and then the estimate that's in the last attachment, the staff report, says 13.0 million, of what the sheriff's department provided.
So we have 1.5 million person.
No.
The budget estimates include a overall, what we anticipate the costs coming in at. So the contract cost isn't made just purely based off of the negotiating increase because there's other components. So it's not a direct like, oh, if they negotiate, an X percentage increase, that's the increase of our contracts. So it's not a 1-for-1 because there are other components. So our contract increase will most likely be a little less than what's negotiated because of the other components. So again, we are not, we don't want to guesstimate or we don't want to assume anything. Negotiations are underway. We think it's best for cities not to share any numbers on our side. That's the only negotiating chip we have. Wait for the county supervisors to do their job.
Okay, so why are we doing that? We can't negotiate. But what's the big secret? What's the big secret if we don't negotiate? Like, who cares? In other words, you're telling me that you're not telling, you don't want to tell them, you want to keep our chips.
Well, I kind of already said it. I said it's about 7%.
Okay.
So I did already.
That's right on top, but the problem is we can't negotiate with the whim of whatever they give, which is gonna be about 12 to 14.
We'll see.
Okay. Okay, Charlie, this is it. We have 17 million bucks. We hire you as the chief. You are paying some more guys to do it for 12 and we'll sign them off. How's that? And chief, we'll take your 5 million. You can be our chief, and then get your 6 firefighters along the rest of it.
How about I take Captain's 17 million and I'll save the chief, I'll be both.
No, because you can't carry guns. Oh, now you wonder why you set up our budget as public safety. Yes, Carol?
No, there's just such a move by business to go to 2-year contracts instead of a longer contract because of how volatile our economy is. That's why I was just thinking there might be some benefit.
If there's no negotiations, long contracts, what's the point? Yeah. Anyway, the bottom line is that we're very happy with both agencies and you're well worth the money we spend. And fortunately, we are doing a pretty good job with our budget. Thank you, Michelle. Otherwise, and staff, otherwise we wouldn't have the money to afford you. So we know how important it is because if you don't have a safe city, you don't have a city. And so that's where our money's going and we're very effective.
So that increase for OCFA is 240,625, so 240,625. So that is by the 4.5%.
You know, and I'll just share this with you, at the board meetings of the OCFA, the structural fire fund cities, they're talking about, not doing this, not doing that, or just giving everything away. And the bottom line is that whatever they do, and their majority, has no effect on them whatsoever, because they don't pay a penny out of their general fund. One penny, not one penny. So basically, to me, we have to be very conservative and do the best we can as contract cities to survive. And, we do the best we can, but, every time one of those guys gets off the pulpit, or the lady gets off the pulpit, talking about, we need to do this, and we need to do that, and I look at them like, it doesn't cost you anything, but I guess they want to, be political. Anyway, Michelle, as always, very thorough, we really appreciate it. We are, I think we're ranked first. It's being solvent in the county, Orange, Riverside, LA, and San Bernardino. And we're number 12 in the state of California. And that's because your staff has done an outstanding job. And look, our department heads, thank you for, tightening up the ropes. We appreciate that very much. And I will just say this publicly, we are so pleased that we're able to give our employees a long overdue raise, because you guys are the hardest working, underpaid people in the county of Orange. And that's the truth, it's the reality. We don't pay as much as other cities, but the work that you do and the effort you do for our community and the services you provide are second to none. And we're lucky to have each and every one.
I'm sure city staff will be very appreciative of that. The results of it. Before I move on to the other attachments in our staff report, are there any other questions on the proposed budget? Okay. So along with the proposed budget, there's some documents that go along with it that we need the city council to approve a resolution to this evening. So every year we have the council review our employee benefits and our salary schedule when there's a change in salary schedule. So as stated previously, the salary schedule is being modified to reflect the prior decision package, which is a 5% cost of living increase and the salary market adjustments for the 3 positions. The employee benefits are not changing substantially next year. We are adding some clarifying language to how those benefits are administered to make it more transparent to city staff and human resources staff and finance staff who process payroll, so everyone's working off of the same playbook. But essentially the same benefits at the same cost are provided to the city. We also have a resolution in the packet to approve the appropriations limit for fiscal year 23-24. This is a calculation that we are required to complete every year per state California state constitution laws. And it requires us to prepare this limit, and it just gives us a limit of how much we're allowed to appropriate from our tax revenue. So the appropriations limit for fiscal year 23-24 is $77 million. The amount of our 23-24 budget that is being funded by taxes that are subject to this limit is only 26 million. So we are like many government agencies, and we are very much well below the limit. But we have to go through this exercise every year, and there's a resolution that council has to approve. We have a couple of miscellaneous items. We have the city reserve policy that requires the city council to review and make changes every year. And during the review at our budget study session, we discussed there would be no recommendations from city staff to change the limits. We feel that the reserves are appropriate based on our current needs. So the slide you saw earlier in the evening, it showed the same numbers in the reserves. So the policy you have is essentially the same. Our investment policy also requires city council review each year. Our investment advisor, Chandler Asset Management Company, took a review of it. They redlined some changes, modified some documentations. updated some language based on changes to the California government code that went into effect earlier this year. So those red line changes are in attachment G, and then the clean version of the Vanessa policy are presented in attachment H. This doesn't require a resolution approval, we just need you to take action to approve that policy. It is not, we're not changing the kinds of investments that City Council's authorizing staff to invest in. We're not changing the percentage limits and how we're gonna distribute the portfolio. So most of those changes are just seriously just wording, clarifying, definition only. We also have a 5-year agreement for our law enforcement services agreement with the County of Orange, and this is again a new 5-year agreement. The current staffing plan is the same. It includes 37 positions that are assigned to the City of Stanton, 2 of which are limited term positions that are funded through December 31, 2024. That's a crime prevention specialist and the office specialist. As earlier stated in attachment I, the county's provided their initial estimate for next year's contract at just a little over 13 million, which is about a 1% reduction of our current year estimate. And we know that we will have to come back and approve an updated contract amount when negotiations are complete and we have updated figures. So that completes my staff report, and there's just a series of recommendations that we're asking you to approve tonight. Basically, the budget, the appropriations limit, all of the resolutions. In addition, I didn't really have a slide on the commodity purchases, so I'll just talk about it a little bit briefly. In the new purchasing policy that City Council approved earlier this year, there is a category for commodity purchases where each year the City Council can waive the competitive bidding process for certain commodities in the upcoming fiscal year so that staff can fill those needs in an efficient manner. So Public Works directors have identified those commodities that they would like the council to consider waiving, and they're in the staff report. They are essentially sand, asphalt, gravel, and things of that nature. With that, that completes my staff report, and staff is here for questions.
Okay, if we can go ahead and move forward. There are some resolutions that really throw on those questions on those resolutions. Right, we're going to take items for recommended action approval of items 1 through 9.
Sarah, before you proceed as well, just reporting that I did not have any requests from members of the public to speak on this item. We wanted to check if there's anybody in the audience.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item 12A?
At this time, council will confirm I have a motion by Councilmember Warren and a second by Councilmember Taylor.
Councilman Taylor and Councilman Torres.
Make sure Councilmember Taylor, can you please make that motion once again, and Torres, the second?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
All motion to move forward on this.
Second.
Appreciate it. Once again, we have a motion by Councilmember Taylor, a second by Councilmember Torres. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, item 12A.
The only thing that I would amend in the sheriff's contract, since it's 5 years, is that Chief Walters is in that contract for 5 years.
I think he should be in for 10.
The thing is that every time I see Sheriff Barnes, I tell him what a horrible job that he's doing. And it's beginning to not work anymore. So I'm running out of things to say. So we should get that 5-year agreement. And of course, we need to keep Steve. So don't get promoted, stick around. All right, we'll move on now to, we have to do all communications. We've already done that. We have no written communications. Mayor, council, agency, initiated business. The committee reports, announcements. Go ahead now.
on June 2nd, I had the privilege of working with our outreach deputy, Asana, I have trouble with that. It was Friday afternoon, or Friday morning until the afternoon, and we basically had a real eye-opening drive around the city. We stopped quite a few different individuals, primarily on the railroad tracks, both on the west side of the city and the one behind CR&R. What I found was that every time that we stop somebody, it's not a good stop. That if there's going to be a warning for trespassing, or if there's going to be a ticket given, they have to be searched, they have to be sat down, we have to check the computer. It's a very in-depth process, so it does take quite a bit of time. Nobody wanted any beds or surface or anything like that. They weren't interested. We found people with narcotics on them. We're able to give them a ticket and confiscate the narcotics. I actually got to see what crack looks like. It's kind of blue, crystal, kind of interesting. But overall, the takeaways that I found were that some of the assumptions that we had made on our people that are trespassing and basically breaking the law was that if we gave them a lot of attention, that they might consider relocating me. That doesn't appear to be the case. We sent one of the people that we stopped was a lady in a little church right across the street from here. It's a little blue church on Beach Boulevard, just north of here. She was sitting behind it. She'd already been cited for trespassing once before. She was stealing electricity through it. And about several months ago, she was arrested in the city for, I guess, auto theft. And basically, it wasn't a real expensive car, I guess, but she spent 5 days and then she was back again. And it does seem like that a lot of the people that are on our streets and that are breaking the law think of this as home. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be as easy as maybe I had hoped, that by enforcing the policies that they might find either to obey the law or maybe move to some place where they wouldn't have so much attention. That doesn't look like it's going to be the case. The reason I'm saying this, I think we're really going to have to think very hard about the future. I think we've got a great program. Chief Waters has got great people working, our outreach coordinators. This is working. We've driven up down Beach Boulevard and it looks 100% better than it did the best. Some places look about the same. Well, they're still better, but like railroad tracks behind CR&R, that is still a kind of a no man's land. They move in and out of there. They cross the streets there all the time. So I think I was talking with Hannah, and we were looking into the future. What we're going to need to find a way to do is probably keep 2 deputies on this for the foreseeable future. Unless something changes, unless the laws change, people actually are held accountable for their actions or anything. Otherwise, what we're doing now, I don't think it's changing behavior as much as it's controlling the behavior. And they're not, some of them are, I guess, are going north, south, east, or west, but a lot of them are staying right here in our city. I just wanted to share that. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. It was a great experience. Great guy to work with. Thank you, Chief. Praise the chief.
He was hand selected for reasons, so. Very good.
We're going to have a food drive this coming Saturday. It's been very successful. As you know, last month we sold out, so we had we are going to do something a little different because we're having too much trouble with the pedestrians in the cars. We're going to just do drive-through because it's not safe for the scouts. It's not safe for the people walking around. However, we do offer services here in the city for seniors. We have meals twice, every day, and we also on the 3rd Wednesday of every month we give food away. So we have more opportunities for work on it. So. And then, I don't think we've had any other major events. Oh yeah, I forgot. I had the privilege of representing the city at the 35th anniversary of the Little Saigon. It was kind of ironic because I was at the first anniversary of Little Saigon, and things have changed there in the last 35 years, both politically and also structurally. So it was a good time. We had all the elected officials were there from that area. It was very politicized as always, but the people seem to be very happy, and I think that's what it's all about. Okay, moving on. Council initiated items for a future meeting.
I'd like for us to consider a greenscape program for the city of Stanton. And what that would be a commercial property program. And if we look at the success of commercial property, we could probably do a reduced scale for residential. But it wouldn't be as stringent as a LEED program. Those are expensive. But what it would be is, let's say that a developer came in and they were going to be doing condos in the city. We would, if they're doing LEED lighting and they're doing double pane windows and sustainable materials, that's great. But if they're not, we could charge them a fee, and that fee would go towards improving the community around them or improving the city to where it could potentially pay for some of the greening of the city that we so desperately need. So anyway, something to think about, but several cities are just starting to do these types of programs. So I think it's time for Stan to take a look too.
I would like us to consider a camera security system in the council chambers, and we'll maybe find one that also doubles as cameras for our superintendents.
Okay, I have a couple. I'd like to agendize for discussion the possible host ordinance, social host ordinance application, and some things that we can do to improve firework safety in our community. So we can identify some of those. And then my second one that I'd like to put on is, at this point in time, after looking at the reports, I think we've outreached to everybody in the city. And the people that we have, the transient people that are left, are refusing our services over and over and over again. So maybe since this could become legal, something legal, I think, especially dealing with the Navigation Center and Judge Carter, I'd like to bring it onto closed session for future discussion, so that we can take a look at what actions we have or what solutions we might be able to come up with dealing with transient people that are in our community that have repeatedly either been criminally offended or also turned down our services for whatever reason. I think it's also a good time for us to take a look at the new programs that I've been following and supporting at the state, dealing with mental health that is being provided or can be provided. I think that should also be part of our discussion today.
Mr. Mayor, if I can clarify two of the items I heard from the council during item 15B. For the social host ordinance proposed by you, you mentioned bringing it back for discussion. Did you want to bring it back for discussion at the second meeting in June, or were you asking staff to prepare a social host urgency ordinance for the council's consideration at the second meeting in June?
You know, I'm pretty satisfied with what we're going to be doing. I think our chief has his hands full, but I think it's good for us to start the discussion. anything that we do as far as ordinances is gonna take the support of the council. Also, it can give us some ideas, maybe that we might be able to incorporate this 4th of July that are not ordinance related, that we can suggest and come up with from outside resources. So, yes, that-
Thank you, Mayor, that's clear. And then second item on the, just to clarify on the closed session request, that's related to the potential litigation coming from the Judge Carter settlement to discuss further strategies related to homeless individuals.
great.
Yes, and for closed session. Correct, thank you.
And you got,
Yes, I got the other councilman, yes, thank you.
right, good.
And just a reminder, there are the forms in front of you, please complete those and sign those, and leave them on the dais, and I'll pick those up.
Okay, anything else, could you please? Okay, thank you for a future study session at this time. Okay, 15D, discussion regarding jail, I'm sorry, you're up.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Before you, we have item 15D, which is City Council initiated item, discussion regarding jaywalking within the city. At the May 23rd, 2023 City Council meeting, Mayor Schaber requested that this item be agendized for discussion. Mayor Schaber is requesting to discuss and address jaywalking solutions within the city. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to note that I know that this was in addition to other items such as street vending, shopping carts, and loitering. However, those are being addressed separately as a request in previous meetings. So at this time, the only item that has not been brought before us was discussion regarding jaywalking.
Thank you. I'd like to begin this with the fact that this is probably more important than other cities because other cities don't have Highway 39. And the fatalities that we have on Beach Boulevard are pretty scary right now. I know that we put up the county has put up signage with the crosswalks or not, telling people not to cross there. But our problem is that they cross anyway in the middle. I'm not saying that we have to build giant, beautiful, roller coaster type things that they have at Knott's Berry Farm on Beach Boulevard. But I was wondering if we might want to take a look at some kind of a deterrent down Beach Boulevard in areas where there's heavy pedestrian traffic. Chief, how have we been handling this? I know that we've had a lot of accidents, but as far as enforcement, I think it was unless the person's in danger of getting hit by a car, we can't do anything.
Correct. So,
Can you explain that to me, how that works?
so very kind of similar to, fireworks. We have to, of course, see them do it. Number two is that usually it's a deterrent for us to stop them, to do a detention or to give them some education on why that's not a smart idea. We're seeing some of our pedestrian versus vehicle kind of accidents is on the rise. Later in the month of June, we have already planned. We're going to be bringing in the motors throughout the Sheriff's Department. We're going to come to Stanton on one day for now, and then in the future, there's going to be 2 or 3 times per year. That's going to be an enforcement type of day. And on top of that, the motors are very, very good at the educational piece of what's smart, what's not smart, how can we, kind of deter that. Unfortunately, right now, with regards to Stanton, in regards, to Beach Boulevard, as you said, Mr. Mayor, there's nothing stopping going from sidewalk to sidewalk. We're seeing a lot of people hit, and it's usually at night. That's our statistical data is telling us it's at night. And then a lot of times they'll be in the crosswalk and they're not paying attention to the cars that are on the green. We're seeing a couple of lately that it's not the driver's fault. There was no narcotics, there was no alcohol. It was the actual pedestrian's fault with regards to how this traffic accident happened. So definitely have some ideas moving forward on how we can address this particular issue. It's on our, again, didn't want to give out the date that we're gonna bring all the voters here, for obvious reasons. But I've seen a spike, and it's literally our pedestrians, versus vehicles. And then we're seeing a lot of death out of it. It's not just they've got a broken leg, it's they're actually being killed. So like I said, we are gonna address it, from our end, with, some, much more citations, much more motors throughout, the deputies throughout, and again, that's just a first step, kind of to that, and we're hoping that they can see that as a deterrent, that when you see 10 motors in the city of Stanton in 3 square miles, you see some of these citations go up, some of the enforcement go up. Hopefully that kind of starts the trend of, kind of kicking this back down. But again, jaywalking is a tough one because, as we see somebody jaywalk, all of a sudden, and again, I just saw one of our deputies do it today, having to go down to a different light, turn around, and by the time we get back, they're in the wind. So that's the difficult part, at least for the sheriffs, is that a lot of times that we see people doing that. And lately, it's not even that, it's those that are on, in the middle of the intersection, or not the intersection, but like on, they want food, or they're asking for this, or they've got the signs up there. It's so dangerous. So we tell them to get out of the street, that stops traffic. So it's kind of it's a tough one. But at the same time, we have some ideas. We're going to put that into motion this coming June. And then thereafter, we're going to look to do it 2 or 3 times per year, at least to start. Because again, when we bring those assets in, unfortunately, the motors are going to be overtime because they're coming from different contract cities. It's not the sheriff's motors. It's the county act. We have one. So.
And to tag on to that, so the city manager's office has been working with the Orange County Sheriff's Department as well as the attorney's office because we've been tracking those statistics against vehicle fatalities. So the city attorney's office is helping us craft an ordinance for the council's consideration to for public health and safety to not allow individuals to loiter on the medians where they're asking for the food, they're asking for holding those signs. So we are preparing that. That should be coming to the council in a few weeks' time.
I know that when we had our previous public works director, there was a suggestion to create these signs at the median that basically says no to panhandling. I remember us approving it. Is that still happening, or?
I remember hearing a discussion about that. We've discussed that with our parking and traffic committee, our traffic engineer, and Caltrans, and we don't believe that would be an effective use of resources, and that would cut down on the issues. We believe the ordinance that we're preparing for your consideration will be much more effective because that will actually give enforcement authority to our deputies.
And then what I'm hearing from Chief Walters is that there are folks who are using our existing crosswalks, but I guess not at the right time,
Correct.
in the middle of the night, and losing their life because of that.
Correct.
And is it a matter of waiting, like pushing the button and waiting for the signal to say, you may cross now? Is that the problem? They're not waiting.
Yeah, and I just saw it today. I was driving, unfortunately I needed coffee at Starbucks, so I was driving to Starbucks, and I got to a light, and instead of where like the red hand saying don't walk, they're seeing the green light for the cars to go, and they're going across the crosswalk when it says don't walk. So there's been some of those I just saw today. And so kind of some of those issues are tough. It does say green, so they're seeing that. But like I said, the ones at night, the ones that are, and it's some that are on the sidewalk and they step off for whatever reason, and then they're hit by a car, and there's times where the cars are sitting there and they actually stay. They didn't do anything wrong. There are times too where those individuals are DUI or they're in the influence of something. But at the same time, we also have statistics where the person has passed away. He or she was under the influence. So it's not just one, we're seeing it's not just one thing. It's a totality of a bunch. And like I said, once those, kind of like how it looks on Star Street, the lighting, it's more brighter. It's kind of a sheriff's station. It's wonderful. We can actually see in the back parking lot now, without the flashlights back there. So I think the lighting's big. I think the ordinance is great. Our deputy sheriffs on the same token, understand what they can and can't do. It's kind of like very similar to like prostitution, what we can and can't go up to certain people, we can't violate the law. So kind of an educational piece for us too is going on right now, and I think that's where some of us being out there, our black and whites, or kind of not just sitting in our cars, we're out and about. We're hoping that's also a deterrent as well. I know with the motors coming into the city, they are have a different mindset when it comes to law enforcement. They're much more into the traffic part of the vehicle code. So that's another deterrent of, you know what, I just saw a motor here and all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, here comes the second one and the third one and the fourth. And then maybe they stop doing that. Again, it's not going to solve everything right now, but we're definitely seeing that move and I'm trying to do something.
There's one thing that I was researching today, and I'm sure that you guys have gone through this while pressing the pedestrian sign to block, is that there's a small window when people press the button when the white block sign comes up, right? And maybe increasing the time in which somebody can press that button so that the walking system change. I think that would be a good strategy. I know that it's not like it won't solve the issues, but I do know that Beach Boulevard is famously not kind to pedestrians. One of the things that I spoke to our city manager earlier is maybe letting people cross the street before the lights right next to the turn grade, so then people have time to walk on the street and people can see them crossing. So when they right turns, they don't have people.
Thank you.
Winter Park has a beautiful fence, and I know Caltrans might have a heart attack about this, but lots of cities have them. They're like these wavy top fences. Winter Park's is green and yellow. We could give a call up there and see how much the cost of that would be. Now, they own Beach Boulevard, where we just borrow Beach Boulevard, so that might be a big differential there, I'm sure.
I had the idea similar to that, but a little bit more less expensive. Maybe Caesar, if the council's okay, could just look at the cost of this. If you just put a steel pole in and you run wire across, just a minute, you don't put razor wire, you run just a strand of wire, and you go four of them. A lot of Rodeo 39 has that in front of theirs right now. And then you put a reflective sign, do not cross here on both sides. That would probably be somebody gets, if somebody has to climb over something, they won't do it. They'll walk down to the crosswalk. I don't know what the cost of that is. I know that Rodeo 39 has them in front of their, and they're very effective. Go ahead.
If I may, Ms. Mayor, I feel like we spent so much money beautifying Beach Boulevard and having all these planters and the medians that, have all this greenery and this wildlife. So if possible, if we do want to create some sort of barrier at the median, maybe make it an organic barrier, like have certain types of plants that might create a hedging or something, and not have wiring, and it just makes it look so ugly when we already have invested so much to beautify that street. So if we can, maybe do like a bush or a hedging or something that would create that barrier but still make it look pretty. Sure, whatever.
Alice, I'm not talking about Calaware. I'm talking about the same kind of fencing that they have at Rodeo 39. And I was going to pay for it with a adopted fence section of our city, to where we can have some of our local business owners maybe take a certain amount of footage, put that in, we get a government name down there with footage.
So if we do have a fence, maybe we can have vines that go over the fence, and we don't see that fence, we just see the greenery. Will that work? Or something that looks nice.
That's not, there's still way that our highways are built, you know, as what prevents people from crossing safely.
We do, I believe we have an active transportation plan, and I don't know if implementing portions of it might make it more pedestrian friendly. Maybe having like I know in some cities, they have like a, kind of like a safety spot in the median where you can, especially if you're disabled or you walk slowly or you have a stroller and you got all these kids, you want to have this safe spot where you can't make it all across 8 lanes of beach. But maybe stop at the median, there's another button you can push while you wait for the next time the signal. But it looks like what I'm hearing is that people are not even pushing the button. They're just crossing in the middle of the night and they have the option to push the button, but they don't want to wait. And I think that's also an issue that is not being addressed if we add more buttons or whatever.
Well, that's one of the big ones too, and again, we're seeing that as well. We're seeing on where the accidents actually happen. Our research analysis is doing those PowerPoints for us in those stats. It shows literally where these accidents occur. And it's, of course, it's Beach Boulevard and all the major thoroughfares. But one of the things that we're seeing too is it's not just a crosswalk, it's farther back. And again, I think there's a wide variety of different reasons why they're not waiting for a crosswalk. Do I think it's all a crosswalk related? I don't. I think there's other issues that come up to that. We have a lot of people that walk around at night. So with that being said, that's why for me, our special enforcement team, our patrol, we're making more contact on Beach Boulevard, on those consensual encounters or those detentions to try to free some of those from walking across, whether it's, hey, you need to get off this street, or, you know, or you're rushing to go to jail, or here's a citation. However we do it, but it's not just one, that's at least from our statistical data, it's not one component. There's a wide variety of reasons why this is happening.
Well, it's other reasons here. I asked a couple of folks that were doing that, says, well, because we can do it, it's not illegal anymore. And so cars have to stop for pedestrians. So if they're on Beach Boulevard and they're walking across it, they have this concept that it's legal and you gotta stop. And I think that is really the problem is the law. So that doesn't help. Anyway, thank you, Chief.
Sir?
Okay, from our esteemed council.
Mr. Mayor, is there a motion that council can receive consensus, bring this item back to discussion, direction staff?
Yeah, let's do that. Is it okay with somebody, maybe Cedar can come back with some, what other cities are doing, or ideas like that?
Why don't we start there, a survey of what other cities are doing in their meetings, okay?
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, you're up. Esteemed attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, I have no items.
Same as you.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything else from the council? Okay, it's with sad news that I'm going to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Reserve Officer Eddie Ventura.
Mr. Mayor, don't forget our distinguished OCS banker.
I'm just giving the USFA report right now. Go ahead, Chief, I'm sorry.
No problem at all. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, city staff, and public. It's my pleasure to present to you the following Orange County operational report for the period of May of 2023. In the month of May, the city of Stanton, we responded to 369 incidents within the city boundaries. 19 of those incidents were fires. 327 of those were EMS or rescue related, and 23 of those being the hazardous materials or miscellaneous calls. Additionally, we ran 54 incidents within the unincorporated area of Orange County, serviced by Fire Station 46 here in Stanton. And of those 54 incidents, one of those was a fire, 51 were EMS related to hazardous materials or miscellaneous, excuse me. Over the course of the month, there's 2 notable incidents I'd like to talk about tonight. The first one occurred on May 3rd, approximately 1 morning in the afternoon. Our OCPA dispatch center received calls for a structural fire reported at 8300 Chapman Avenue. When firefighters arrived on scene, it was a multi-unit apartment complex with heavy smoke showing from the backyard. As they made entry into the property, they discovered there was a exterior fire on the patio that had breached the patio window, and the fire was starting to communicate to the inside of the structure. Fortunately, due to the quick notification of 911, the response, firefighters were able to quickly knock down that fire and limit the spread to the interior of the residence other than some smoke damage and water. The fire was estimated to be approximately $25,000 in damage to the structure itself, as well as about $25,000 lost in its contents. And very happy to report that there are no reports of injuries to civilians or firefighters, and that fire was undetermined in the cause, just due to the multiple competing sources outside. The second incident took place on May 28th, approximately 10 in the morning. Our emergency dispatch center received a report of a structure fire at 11793 Beach Boulevard. This is the automotive repair shop there on Beach. When firefighters arrived on scene, there was some light smoke showing. The business was unoccupied at the time. I believe this was a Sunday morning. Firefighters forced entry into the business, and what they found was actually a parts cleaner inside the automotive because it wasn't shut down over the weekend, so it burned up basically all the fluid in there and started to smoke the motor. But fortunately, there's no damage to the business, and it's just the damage to the actual parts cleaner itself. Also, the Sheriff's Department assisted us on that call with securing the property. Since we had the forced entry, made notification, they were able to assist us all with that. Over the course of the month of May, there was two events that our firefighters attended here in the city. On May 20th, we were at the 20th annual car show. Firefighters had a great time interacting with the public and the city staff there, as well as all of the, taking a look at all the nice restored classic cars and so forth. And then also on May 23rd, our education specialist, Milton Miura, gave a disaster emergency preparation presentation at the Plaza Pines Mobile Home Senior Community Park, Mobile Home Senior Community. Over the month of May, our focus on safety and education, we started our basically our water safety training program with the ABCs of water safety, as well as we started, speaking of tonight, the fireworks safety notifications. As well, we will be continuing to ramp up our fireworks public education with social media, as well with the sheriffs and working in collaboration with them. We also on our social media pages post information regarding illegal, dangerous, safe and sane fireworks, which cities are allowed to do. So great partnership with the Sheriff's Department trying to minimize the fireworks, the dangerous and illegal fireworks, and try to minimize that, but as well as teach safety messages, because even the safe and sane fireworks, if used improperly, can cause safety concerns to the public. As a reminder, any of these reference materials are always available on our website at www.ocsa.org. It's written in multiple languages and can be utilized anywhere in the city, messaging, social media, publications as well. Coming up on June 8th, Educator Milton Miura also presented to the Stanton community with the emergency preparedness and fire safety presentation at the Stanton Central Park. I just spoke to him today about it. He said it was went really well. It was a great interaction with the city and staff, as well as the public, and received some got a lot of good praise from the presentation there. This concludes my report for the Orange County Fire Authority for May of 23. I'm available for any questions.
I will make a comment. The fire at the car repair place is really close to our house, so we had to drive by. You guys did an outstanding job putting that out. I mean, you were right on it. So thank you. We looked out our back door and it was just like a cloud of smoke over there. So anyway, thank you for being right on time and just doing such a great job.
Thank you, and I'll pass it on to the firefighters.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, tonight I'm going to be dismissing the meeting in honor of Eddie Ventura, who's from Fire Station number 10 in North Linden. He was a reserve firefighter. He started as a reserve firefighter at Station 10 in North Linden in 2008. In 2010, he transferred to Station 32, became a reserve officer in 2012. Eddie took it up a notch and then all of the new recruits that came in, helping them with their training. He can probably say that every recruit he has hired passed their academy test, including the Reserve Firefighter Academy, the Patrol Driver Operator Academy, and the Water Tender Academy. Eddie was engaged in the community of Yorba Linda and participated in many community events such as the Yorba Linda Food Drive, Shop with Heroes, and even started his own project, LOLA, named after his mom. Anyway, please keep the Ventura family in your hearts. I know he's part of our OCFA family, and he will be locally remembered for his kindness and his contribution to his community. Again, I'm going ahead and adjourn in honor of Reserve Officer Eddie Ventura.